This is the latest movie by Takashi Miike, who's apparently one of the most prolific filmmakers of all time. And I had no clue, but it apparently looks like he's made around 100 movies in less than 30 years. Which is absolutely absurd. I mean, it doesn't even make sense, but apparently it's possible. However, I'm pretty sure this is the first one I've actually seen, but I have heard of a few other ones. Mainly Ichi the Killer and 13 Assassins. I feel like those are fairly well known in the West. But the bulk of his work, I would say, is unknown around these parts of the world. But with a work ethic like that, I personally can't help but to admire him. Which I guess brings me to this movie in particular, which did look interesting on the surface. And the story here deals with a number of characters that get wrapped up in the same series of events. And I guess the main characters here are this young prostitute and this young boxer. But the story also involves members of the Yakuza and the police, and the plot itself involves a drug deal. And the whole thing basically takes place in the underbelly of the city with all these seedy characters. And as I said, everyone gets wrapped up in this thing in different ways. So I guess you could say it's sort of a crime thriller, and a pretty violent one at that. Because it gets rather bloody and they're not exactly afraid of some gore. And again, all of that sounded very interesting to me. I liked the basic premise here. Unfortunately, that's just about all I liked about it, because I just could not get into this at all. I didn't care for the characters, which meant that I wasn't even remotely interested in what was going on. And I honestly just didn't buy any of it. I didn't believe in what was happening. It didn't come across as authentic or convincing. It was just way too over the top for me. And not in a Tarantino way where I love every second of it, but more in a it feels like it's trying way too hard kind of way. And by the time the last 30 minutes rolled around, I'd pretty much given up on it. I was completely disinterested and couldn't wait for it to be over. Now, that being said, that might just be me and not the movie. Because I can't really point to many particular things that I didn't like. And I can't say that this was bad or that was bad and give you any reasons why I think that. It's more of a gut feeling than anything else, and I honestly just didn't care for this. And it might just be a case of not for me. I'm not the right person for this movie. Because I also did something I usually don't do before writing my reviews. I read some of the user reviews on Letterboxd because this had been fairly well rated. And I wanted to understand what people liked about it and what I didn't get out of it. And yeah, most of the reviews seemed to be very positive and seemed to give a lot of praise. Mainly focusing on how fun and crazy it is. And yeah, it is sorta crazy. But not that crazy. I've seen movies that have been far more out there. And to me at least, it just didn't come across as fun. And I guess it all just boils down to the fact that this movie just wasn't for me. It didn't click with me, it didn't resonate, and I never felt remotely invested in it. And there's not really much more I can say about it. However, would I recommend it? I mean, as I said, I can't necessarily call it a bad movie, because it is competently made. And I think it pretty much did what it set out to do, but at the same time, I definitely don't think it's great either, and there were some issues with the pacing too. So I don't know, if it sounds interesting, maybe give it a shot. Otherwise, don't. Or you can do whatever you feel like, after all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.